Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Kung Fu Corner here at Terra Prime, our Thursday Kung Fu class. Today we will be going over the first exercise in a pardon me in a first exercise in a long string of sets. It's 10 exercises, but we'll do the first one today called Tantui, which means spring leg or springy leg. And it's a very, very basic component of Ma Shi Tong Bei and actually quite a few Chinese styles. So having these types of concepts under your belt is always good. The skills are going to build on from what we did last week. So we're going to start off with a little bit of a warm-up. We'll go through some of our movements, and then we'll take it from there. So we'll do Dan Pi Shou, and then we'll get into the Tantui, and you'll see how the basic exercises that we're doing as the warm-up and all of that is movement prep feed directly into Tantui. And now Tantui then will feed directly into our big three, which are Baji, or Piqua, Baji, Fanzi. And then we are on the road, on a roll, as it were. Okay, as always, ask questions in the comments. If you're watching on Facebook, go ahead and throw them up there. I will keep an eye on those. Live chat right here also. I get those, and once we finish up, I'll go back and see what people have kind of put there for me. Anyway, so let's get started. Okay, our first, move this up just a tad. Yeah. Okay, so our first exercise and stuff like that is we're going to just standing just like this. Okay, what I want to do is we're just going to do a squat all the way down there. Now, if you can, take your hands, put them up over your head like this, interlace the fingers. You're going to try to keep your arms in this position the whole time. Okay, feel the stretch in there, effort in the back, shoulders, all that. When you've got your arms up like this, keep your shoulders from rising up on you. Okay, so now, very gently, we're going to get a little wider stance here. We're going to center me just a bit more. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to hold our hands out in front of us, and we're going to bring them back as far as they're going to go. If you can, go ahead and let them touch, clap, whatever, something behind you. The point is when you're going back like this, we're extending up here through the torso. Okay? So what happens is you're going here like this. You get a little bit of hip flexion in here. Now, gently, because if you're not used to this motion, this can be a little bit here. So you're going to go back as far as you can here like this. Okay? That's just going to get our shoulder blades and chest kind of warmed up like that. We'll go through this one here. This one's going to start with Gong Bei. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring this hand to our shoulder here. We're going to dip down past our foot there, stand back up. We're going to take this hand and fling it behind us like that. Okay, from the side. Okay, down and up. Okay. The do a couple on this side, a couple on that side. When you're warming up, don't spend a lot of time warming up. Go through some basic motions, ramp up your speed just a little bit, just to kind of get you into that. But remember, our training should give us enough robust health and endurance that we can go from 0 to 60 if we need to, because that's really what we need our bodies to do most of the time. So anyway, so with this one here, and I'll go from behind once. Okay. And we're going to look back. So we'll do a few on this side, a few on that side. We'll go 5. Keep it nice and Chinesey. So down. 1. 4. Other side. All right. Next up, we will go ahead and do our Dan Pichou, core and heart of the style. If things could be boiled down to one skill, this is the unique one, which I think is the linchpin to everything else. Master this body movement, this body method, and everything else falls into place. So, here we go. Let's start in with our feet together like this. Okay, I'll point this down a little bit now so we can see the feet. But most of this. Okay, so here, right, our hands up, there, chest sticks out. Okay, so I'm standing like this in my natural position. I bring the hands up. You can see I lean forward just a tad, stick up the chest. That basically lights up the back half of my body, my hamstrings, my back. All the things that I'm really going to need to keep me safe and powerful. Okay, so to continue. Gunbei, going that way. Up. Here. There. And back. We're doing it easy, light, and yes, slow. This is slow for this exercise. Loosen the shoulders. Getting that 1, 2. All right, so we should be nice and warm from that. Upper body a little bit loose. Very good. Okay, so now let's start with the Tantui. So Tantui is what are called line forms. And line forms are done in repetition in a line. They're used in military training a lot, or at least they used to be. And Tantui is probably the quintessential Chinese Kung Fu line form. So you see it pop up a lot. It was part of a version of it was a part of the Jinwu curriculum, also the Goshu curriculum, of which Ma Fengfu and the Ma family was a part of. And so it spreads, and it gets a lot of press for that. This version is Ma family Tantui. It has its roots in Piwa, I believe, at least the Ma family version, and it's going to really set the tone for the rest of the style, and for, like I said, those other three big arts that we study. So, first of all, each line is going to have a cap to it. So let's go over that cap first. There's an opening, and then there's a closing. Okay? We'll go over the opening first here, and I'll keep it here so you can see my feet, because this is what's important up here. The top of my head, not so important. I'll get down low so you can see what happens with the hands. I might be leaving the camera there, but unless something interesting is happening with this hand, just assume that it's in the same position as it left, as it was when it left the frame. So we'll continue on like that. Okay, so we again start customary manner. Up, lift up. All right, now we're going to do Gunbei and do 1.5 Danpisho. Let's show you what I do. So, Gunbei. 1, 2. Okay? So, the first part is just like we do it. The next part is truncated. Right? We're going to arrest the movement, and we're going to go into another time. Okay? So, again, from here, you lift up, step out, go down low. Circle. 1. Circle back. 2. Okay? And we are now in Shiabu. Okay? So, again, up, down. 1, 2. Okay. Once from behind, or I'll do it from behind. Okay. All right. So hopefully that's fairly clear. When you come over here and you're going to go up like this, okay, very much like that movement we did at the beginning. Up like this. We're going to then kind of pull in here, right? And then this can come from the side, like this, or okay, here, up, weights on here, turn there. Take a step, and you're going to lift up your fist. And that's what it's going to look like out of the frame. Okay? So our feet together. Feet together. Just up like this. We step up here and then we look the other direction. Right? Slight tilt with the shoulders. Slight. Okay? Not going to go into a bend. So we're still straight up and down. And just do that. Okay? So let's try that whole thing. Out, down, 1, 2, 3. Okay? All right, now, from this position here, raise the flag. We're going to bring this hand down here to our hip. We're then going to step out into Ma-Bu and throw that punch out. Okay? To show the feet. Bring it down a little bit. So we're here. Boom. Here. There. See? So nice, wide, low Ma-Bu. Stretching out. Reaching there. Okay? Don't slouch over. Stay upright. You can lean a little bit toward the direction that you're going, but try to stay up. Okay? That position we call yoke fist, right? Like carrying a yoke, something like that. Okay, let me see that. Yes, we're not opening this fist yet. You're holding the fist up in the air. This comes down, makes a fist, and now both hands are fists. Okay. So again, in, out. Now the next bit is we're going to come back to this leg. We're going to lift this leg up, like we're scooping it up, right? What's going to happen with our upper body is we're going from this open position here to tun. So we're going to tun with the chest, and our fists are going to come into the middle like this. Okay? The whole thing will look thus. Here. Obviously, maneuver yourself where you can. Okay, so you see there. Now, this is a hollowing out of this whole body, but remember, you're not bending. You're not going to fold. You're not going to kink, right? So what we do is we just hollow this out. Little bit of a pelvic tilt, little bit thoracic release, shoulder blades part, chest contracts, abs contract here. So we kind of we take all of this away. Okay? So you get up close, and I'm here like this, like that. So here, like that. Out. Right? It's not, you're not crumpling up like a ball, right? You have to stay strong and you have to stay firm on the outside, right? Because we have to constantly remember that we've got forces all around us. Okay, so that much from here. We go 1, 2. Now we take a step down, and we're going to, so you can see it, punch out like this. So this hand across goes straight out, and this hand is out over there. So you're essentially just taking this and turning it. Okay? We'll just go through. So here, 1, 2, 3. Okay. One, 2, 3. Go through this one. 2, 3. One, 2, 3. Okay. So that's the basic first few movements. What that is first of all going out low, stretching out here. Now, yes, a lot of these positions look extrapolated, look very large, right? And you may have a hard time understanding, what utility they might have. Some of the qualities of these things are there for fitness. They're there for general athleticism, but also the various pieces themselves are important to other techniques. So the first movement right out of the gate, right? This, okay. Now, of course, if I had somebody here, I could demonstrate it much easier. But if people are familiar with fireman carries and other throws that go across the shoulder, this is your entry, okay? Taking a wide step, getting very, very low, and trying to scoop underneath. Now, are you going to have your fist closed or open? Really it doesn't much matter from a technical point of view, right? That's gonna change depending on what happens, at the time. Okay, when we're practicing, for right now, we're keeping our fists closed. This helps keep our shoulder in check. It helps keep our rotator cuff from letting our arm flop around too much. So there's that. But that's one of the main uses for this thing here. I come down here, and as I step out, you see this kind of comes up there. Go underneath the other person's leg, and then you stand up. Okay? Same type of thing with the follow-up. Boom, like this. Somebody's grabbed you. This is common in the sport of shui jiao. People have collar grabs and all of this. Coming around their arms here and trying to lift up one of their legs there. At that point, from there, you're probably going to want to step in, triple, something like that. A lot of these things are setups too, right? So they're just the setup, not necessarily. I can easily throw somebody like this. I have, and other people have as well. But it doesn't necessarily have to end with somebody falling down. You get them off balance anyway. Okay, to continue. From here, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to drop this down like this. Then we're going to kick with the foot, and we pull this in here. Right there. That's how we'll start it out. There are other ways that you can do that, leaving the fist here like this and kicking. But we're going to pull it in here just to keep things clear, and you'll see why you won't. Okay, so that, when we're from here, is we turn our fist over. like this. Okay, so we're not going the entire route of that, but we're making a small one. Okay, focusing what would be the impact in this part of the forearm. Okay. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now I'll go from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now from here, what I'm going to do, my fist is already in the bed. I'm just going to take a step down and go back out into this position here. In which case, I'll go 1 again, and that starts the next line. Okay, so when we're going from here, kick. That's what we're going for, right? Coming underneath, just like we started the last line. Okay, do it from this side again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Yeah, I have to. This is being crammed into a little space, so keep that in mind. It can look much more expansive, and all of that if you can do it outside. That's a good place to do it. Okay, so that's the entire line, and then it repeats on either side. So if we go through here again, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1. And then it starts again, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The count will depend if you start all together, and all that kind of thing. This will be 1. It's a 5 move. 5 move line. Okay, what time do we got here? Oh, look at that. Very, very close. Okay, so go ahead and if anybody has any questions on that kind of stuff, I will run through this a couple more times. And let some people maybe ask some questions. Okay, so if I go from here so you can see more of the upper body, we know what the feet are doing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so on and so forth. Yes, this is the first line of Tanpui. So this is a 10-line form. There are 12-line variations. I think there's longer ones that are more modern. I'd learned one version of it when I first started, and that was more of the Jinwu type 12 lines. And then transition to this one. This one is, Ma family. It has more of its Muslim roots. It's Hui uh, Chinese roots into it, for what that's worth. But it is a this is a very prolific practice. People do it from all kinds of styles, and a lot of that had to do with Republican era teaching, often to the Goshu Institute, Jinwu, and that kind of explosion that happened in the 30s, where lots of books were written, lots of things were recorded, and, pretty much the modern era of Chinese martial arts begins around the 1930s, and then pretty much from that point on, what we collectively know as Chinese martial arts is recognizable to us there. You go back further than that, things get less familiar to people's to modern people's expectations of what martial arts and that kind of practice is. And then it wasn't until even the Ming Dynasty that any of these styles and stuff like that got sophisticated enough to be referred to in these ways, and so Ming Dynasty is where a lot of the stuff starts to become what we know as Kung Fu and all of that. It's not quite there, right? And it goes to the Qing Dynasty, and it's kind of forms up everything. Everything is a process, as it were, and then it kind of crystallizes in the Republican era. Both of these eras are very, very interesting to people in our fields and such like that. For me, I'm partial to the Ming Dynasty stuff, but anywho, yes. So hips. Let's talk about the hips. These exercises are very, very hip oriented. Spring leg does raise the idea of springy legs and that. Now it's considered to be named after the type of kick, which is that front snap kick, which Tan Tui is. That's often referred to as Tan Tui. So, take it for what it's worth. The meaning of the term is not necessarily as important as what we're training here. And the basic stances, right? You've got the Mabu as we're coming out here, going here like this. If you want to see, I'll give you a little preview here for next week. We'll go into this next week, but just this first one. So we have these movements here. Okay. In an art we call Baji, you started out like that. Okay. So you have this that comes here and around, and you push it down here. Some styles, some people will lift that leg up, into the hole, and then you have the entire thing. So it immediately translates that way. So there's a little bit of where the this form is going to start to help build other skills, right? Again, from here, this, there, you're doing here, okay, in Baji. either. Right? Yes. So the obviously Pigua is pretty easily demonstrated here. The set does sort of come from Pigua, so when I'm doing these, right, we have all of that kind of thing. And you do that in the set, in the first set, Moment Chen, which is the first Pigua set. And you come over and even though it might be with an open hand, palm strike or anything like that, it does come up, obviously. So there's that. Now, Fanzi, which is a lot of this stuff, right? Rapid punching, right? That stuff. You don't see too much of it right here, but you do get the flavors of it, because Fanzi means this action, a flat object switching sides, flipping a coin, something like that. And when you're doing Fanzi, you sort of imagine your body as these planes, and you flip them back and forth to create this motion. And that's what you're doing here with this hand. Is I come out here like this, okay, and you'll see that a lot in different Fanzi. Stuff like that, right? Okay, you build up to all of that flashy stuff. I mean, it's just fast, right? There's simple techniques, right? Up, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2. Right, and we build it up there. So from this to this, right? Tiny little detail, but it leads to really dynamic stuff. Right. Okay. So let's see. So, okay, we got a question here. Very interesting on the Holy Roots. Any stock in the idea that the Holy Trinity of Tantui, Gongli Tren, and Lianbu Tren contains the core of Northern Long Fist that led to Baji Tren? There's a lot of generalizations in that question. Northern Long Fist is a iffy designation of things. Everything from Taiji to literal Long Fist has been called Northern Long Fist. I do know the idea, though. I do know that these three forms, or these three martial arts, or something like that, we're supposed to kind of build this thing up. From my research, I would be very surprised if exercises of this sophistication existed prior to the Ming Dynasty. I mean, I'm no expert, I'm anything like that, but just from the impression that I get from my reading, researching different Ming Dynasty kind of stuffs, and accounts from the time and different researchers and that kind of thing, it is very possible that pre-Ming Dynasty martial arts were very, very, very different than what we consider them to be today and how they appear. So, who knows? You're dealing with such vast areas and such vast time spans. Generalization is very, very, very difficult. Now, the origin of Baji, the origin of all of these arts and all that kind of thing, I'm not sure. The Mashatongbe, as the system as we know it here, was pretty much formulated also in the beginning of the 20th century, when Ma Fengtu and his brother would studied Fanzi and Baji and Choujiao in different areas, and then added those to the curriculum to create what is there. The main style that this branches off from is Pigua. So the base of everything, that's why you see it everywhere. It's just it all comes out of that kind of thing. So it's a very interesting topic, but it's a little out of the scope that I am prepared to talk about right now. I would have to go look at my notes and all of that kind of thing, and probably wouldn't come up with a satisfying answer. But Pigua, as a concept, is mentioned as far back as Ming Dynasty in Qi Guang's thing. Did it exist as a style, as a technique? What does that mean? I don't know. We don't have enough information to know that. But this, the Pigua aspect of it, Tantui, probably has been pretty stable for probably mid-Qing Dynasty, I would say. Maybe mid 1800s. I don't know, but that's just my guess. I won't embarrass myself by supposing on ridiculously limited information. Okay. Yeah, so Fanzi, and like I said, we're going to go into the three biggies next week. We're going to do kind of a movement from each. Fanzi is an art which comes out of something else, supposedly called Ba Shan Fan, which is another. It's an older form of long fist. Now, this is where we get into those imprecise terms and into trouble with them, because Fanzi is a very short style, and to many people, it is considered short technique, right, where you're in close, because there's lots of there, and the Pigua is far more long. So what is long fist, what isn't long fist, that's a very, very generalized term. Fanzi itself, like I said, this concept of flipping back and forth, the Ba Shan Fan, again, is mentioned as far back, I believe, as the Ming Dynasty, at the end of the Ming Dynasty. A lot of this stuff comes from is mentioned by Qi Jiguang in his book. So there is the possibility that people adopted these names after the fact, and that they're not exactly the same things as were being mentioned. These are all possibilities, because it's a long time ago. But the different arts that we practice in Mashatongbe represent different types of skills. Whereas Pigua is a lot of it's very movement oriented. It's extended. It's like this. The way I put it into kind of modern terms, scientifically speaking, is you've got your movement prep. You've got your long, low stances. You've got your long-armed swings, right? It's very physically demanding. You're making a lot of, you're covering a lot of space, right? So it's very, very, very fluid, very, the Green Dragon set, which is the second set of Piqua, which is one of the most, it's definitely one of the most beautiful classical forms of Kung Fu out there. And it has so much in it. And when you see somebody of a really high level doing a set like that, it's extremely beautiful. Baji is power. It's all about a kind of, really, I'm going to use modern parlance here because this is how I'm kind of doing it. That training is about developing power. We stomp a lot. There's a lot of core work, a lot of breathing, right? We use the Tun and Tu as a power generation type of thing. So it's a very strong, fearsome type of set. It is slower than most sets that people associate with Kung Fu. So Baji, sometimes I've done Baji, and people walking by, if they notice or whatever, they say, "Oh, is that Taiji? Is that Chen style?" Because it can be mistaken for that because we have the different types of poses and stuff. However, and then Fanzi is really about, like I said, this flipping and creating movement within your sphere of movement. And again, that's a little bit of a headier concept. I try to keep everybody on, we want to keep these very, very beginner and accessible to people. So, but I'll mention concepts like this. Don't feel obligated that you have to understand necessarily these types of things. This comes with years of work and stuff, and physical movement. But I've got this movement here, right? And that's my gross motor. But then through that action of my shoulder, right? If I do different things with my hand, I get lots of different stuff, right? And that's really what it's about, right? So I'm coming through here, going up there, here, 1, 2. Now, what am I doing? I'm doing this. And this thing, if you see modern Wushu people do Fanzi, because they're punching so fast, they don't see that there are different techniques that are happening in all of this, right? And I did this too. I learned Wushu Fanzi back in the day, and all we did is this. We just punched, right? When I learned the actual set from my teacher, there's 1, 2, up here. So it's 1, 2, 3, then hit, hit, hit. Right. All of that happens in the space essentially of a breath, right? So you're here. And then continuing on with the form. So what you're doing is you're taking these motions that you've built up in your Piqua, right? Tun, to, tu, right? Your hip movement, your stances, your legs, rising up and down through all 3 basins, all of that kind of stuff. And then you add these sophisticated little things that happen within those ranges of motion. So you're adding to your spirograph. If you remember the old spirographs, you do the different circles with the different sized gears, and they make different patterns. And that's exactly what we're doing here, right? So all of this, remember, you as a human being, you can only really make 4 fundamental movements, right? your body can squat, lift, push, and pull. Everything you do is some combination of those, right? So I'm adding a little bit of a squat or lift here with my hip, right? That's coming with a push with this arm, a pull with this arm, right? If one side is pushing, the other side is pulling, you get rotation, right? Everything comes out of some very, very simple stuff. We will be doing. I just had a conversation with a great person to be talking about this. Dr. Mark Chung. I will be posting that video soon, and we talk about training and building up slowly and stuff like that. And you have to understand that that's what is happening when you go through training, right? There are times where in training which are very, very frustrating. You have to do something that you don't want to do. We talk a lot about this. I've talked a lot about this. I mean, when I was learning, and this might be extreme, I wasn't allowed to fight for 3 years. Right? So I had to train for 3 years before my teachers gave me to say, all right, go duke it out with somebody. Right? After that, though, they very much encouraged it at every opportunity. Right? So it's a very valuable practice, but the practice can become less valuable if you're not taking things step by step, because you'll get in over your head, and then it won't become fun anymore. You'll feel defeated. You'll feel like you're not doing well, and all of that. Progressions should have these points of success. Right? If you follow our system, we have our achievement system. You finish your formula, accelerations, Dulon, boom, 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 and you go through. And we're going to be expanding that so more people can get involved with that as well. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so a little bit of chattiness at the end there, but got to cover everything I wanted to. Let's see if we have any. I don't see any more on there. Let's check the Facebook page. I don't see anything there, so I think. Oh, we got another question here. Is Fanzichuan rolling related to circle shelter? Also, probably obvious, but I did. Confirmation. Do you think that long fist helps Ataru stamina? Any of these things are going to be good for stamina, right? Forms, kung fu forms, karate kata, Filipino martial arts forms, any of these things that have like a solo form, and these right now everybody's like, people who never would have touched solo training before are now going, oh, what do I do? So that's what these are going. So anything that you do like this is going to give you help. Now, the relation between weapon work and barehanded work, it's controversial. The Chinese way is you learn some barehanded with your weapons. However, they also view weapons as styles in and of themselves. So while they'll have weapons that are attached to schools, generally speaking, Dao technique is Dao technique, right? The forms and the specific training are going to be the style, but people generally just kind of lump them all in together. Fitness-wise, the barehanded stuff is going to give you more benefit from that. Okay, so keeping your conditioning up, this stuff is very, very important for that. Will it have much of an direct effect on weapon sparring or weapon performance? Not sure. I guess it would probably depend on your previous level of experience and your previous level and your current level of skill. People who are uh, more skillful are going to be able to take more stuff quicker, right? That doesn't mean that it's useless or anything like that. So there you go. I will say this, that just because somebody can fight with their bare hands, like they're a good MMA fighter, good judoka, something like that, it does not follow that they will be good with weapons, with swords. I have many examples of that. My best example is my sparring partner, who barehanded, can tear me apart, right? But holding a sword, I feel much safer. And people have remarked on that to me, saying, is it just me, or is he very much more dangerous without that weapon? And yes, he definitely is. Because sometimes, the weapon gets in the way. So, there we go. Okay. Yes. So, there you go. That will be, that's a good kind of intro into stuff. We're kind of in the mid-range as far as our tour of Ma Shi Tong Bei. So we've got our basics and our fundamentals, and we're building up. Now remember, in that fundamentals level, there are many more exercises, and there are 12 basic exercises we call Jiaofa right at the beginning, of which Dan Pi Shou is one of them. Keep in mind that 12, is one of those numbers, and it depends on how you count them, because Dan Pi Shou has 3 different walking forms. So there you go. All right, so I will leave you there tonight, and see you next week. Have a good night. We'll be here for Sword Lab tomorrow, so if you're interested, come on by. I will be pulling out, finally, the namesake, the sword. And we'll go through some different types of sword shapes and designations and that kind of thing. And kind of compare and contrast. And go from there, and see how things all relate to each other. Anyway, for all of us here at TPLA, have a great day. Patience, practice, perseverance. And happy savoring.